Hi, this is Chatterboxing. I'm Sean, and I want to talk today about Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev, their rematch. It's been a long time coming. For those of you who saw my post-fight video for the first fight, you know that I thought Sergey Kovalev won the first fight. I think it was competitive. I think Andre Ward was, in it for most of the fight, definitely for the second half of it. But I do think that Sergey Kovalev was the clear winner. And, I'm not here to tell you that, if you disagree with me, then you're wrong or anything like that. Everyone's got their own opinion. But personally, I don't really accept this argument that it could have gone either way. I don't really see that. But, whatever. It is what it is. It's done. I had a few debates with people about it around that time. I gave my opinion on it. I'm not going to go on and on about it. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm not a journalist. I'm not someone who has a responsibility to keep focusing on stuff and get to the bottom of things. I'm just a boxing fan making videos, giving my opinion on stuff. So I thought Sergey Kovalev was a clear winner. They gave the decision to Andre Ward. Whatever. They're going to do a rematch now. I do have a few concerns going into this. What I want to say, I have a couple of concerns. I have something I want to say about the first fight. It looked to me like Andre Ward had a lot in his favour. Now, this is looking from the outside. I don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, but it was in America. Obviously, it's going to be in America. We knew that. That's not really a big thing. But an American referee, 3 American judges. Now, all of them gave the decision to Andre Ward. We saw another ridiculous robbery. I'm not saying it was a ridiculous robbery. We saw a ridiculous robbery on the, on the card as well, the undercard. And then we saw this fight, which, in my opinion, from what I've seen, most neutral people think that Kovalev won. Now, that's not to say that no neutral people thought that Kovalev won, or Ward won, or if you think that Ward won, then you're wrong and you're biased. I'm not saying that. But I do think that a lot of people are basically thinking or saying that Ward won really because they wanted him to win. And that's my opinion. Do you know what I mean? If you don't agree with that, then that's up to you. But I think that's the case, judging on from what people have said. And I remember the build up to it. It was quite it's quite sort of bitter build up. There's quite a lot of bad feeling between, not necessarily between those two, but between going on from what I see online, on YouTube, on Facebook groups. There's quite a lot of people who really dislike both of these fighters. Like Andre Ward. Now, Andre Ward, he does have some things that you can criticise him for, but he does seem to be a lot of the attacks on him were quite personal and over the top, in my opinion. But having said that, like a lot of the Andre Ward fans, in my opinion, especially on Facebook, really, to me, quite irritating, quite sort of high and mighty about boxing, and they kind of think that Andre Ward, first of all, is kind of like above criticism, that he's almost like the perfect embodiment of boxing, and that by supporting Andre Ward and by sort of being a fan of Andre Ward, then you sort of understand boxing more. And if you don't, basically have an orgasm every time he parries a jab, then you don't know anything about boxing. You're a bit of an idiot, and you just don't really appreciate like the true skill, mate. That's what it is. And to me, over a period of time, that started getting on my nerves a bit. Now, I'm not the kind of person who allows this kind of thing to influence how I feel about someone else, because a lot of people do that. Like that's always been one of the big excuses for Golovkin, people hating on Golovkin, Manny Pacquiao as well. It was, but his fans say this, his fans say, I don't really care. I can think that a lot of the kind of Andre Ward fans online are quite annoying and quite not patronising, but just really thinking that they're sort of clever and they understand boxing, and anyone who sort of criticises Andre Ward is just like, oh, you just don't understand boxing, that kind of stuff. That's their thing. That's nothing to do with him for me. So, but that is something that that has started to get on my nerves. I can see how that potentially could affect other people. But really, you shouldn't let that kind of stuff affect you. In terms of Sergey Kovalev, I remember like a lot of people before this fight coming out with stuff saying, oh, these are the excuses that Sergey Kovalev fans are going to make when Ward schools him and this, that and the other. And they're putting these things out as if by putting this out, which is something you just invented, which potentially, like let's say if a fight happens, there could be a robbery, there could be various other things that happen. These are just potential things that can happen. So by you stating them like 2 weeks before a fight, that doesn't then make them invalid if someone then says this is a reason, if it is genuinely a reason. Do you know what I mean? You can't basically sort of, I don't know, I can't just go and like rob like a post office and then about 2 weeks before say, oh, I bet they're going to make excuses why there's no money in the till, that some bloke come in with a balaclava and a shotgun and robbed it. And in 2 weeks later that happens. And I'm saying, oh, well, I told you they'd start using this as an excuse. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So there was this kind of narrative beforehand that this was going to happen, that people were going to complain about it. So somebody like me, who didn't really care who won for the fight, I was kind of preferred Ward. I quite like Ward as a person. Sergey Kovalev, I don't really know that much about him. Obviously, he doesn't speak very good English. I haven't really seen that much of him, so I don't really relate to him as much as Andre Ward. So I kind of preferred him. But in terms of the fight, I was wanting Ward to win, but at the same time, the sort of smugness of a lot of the fans that I was talking about, just going on and really dismissive. I was kind of thinking, well, it'd be quite good for these to shut these people up as well. But that's it. But yeah, I was basically neutral. So I watched the fight, and then I said, yeah, Sergey Kovalev clearly won the fight. 3 American judges, the kind of propaganda and the conflict between Russia and America and all that stuff played a part. Andre Ward, Olympic gold medalist, I think this was a factor. And people were telling me, oh yeah, well, I knew that people were going to say this. This is invalid because look, I said this before. I don't give a fuck what you said before. I wasn't interested in what you said before. I was watching the fight, and I'm giving you my honest opinion on it based on that. So I do think that a lot of people are basically going along with what they wanted to happen, and if that happens, then yeah, brilliant. We've got that L on the record, or the W on the record, and that's good enough for me. So that's another reason why I'm quite surprised that there hasn't been more of a push for this rematch. To be honest with you, I don't know, like if this is because in America to do like the promote. I mean, the promoters are really like Kathy Duva, who's not a particularly big promoter. Who else? Rock Nation, who haven't really shown us anything in terms of promotion. Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev, they haven't really kind of captured the imagination of the American public, and I don't know what the situation is there in America either in terms of like what kind of market or what kind of audience they have access to. So that's probably got a lot to do with it. But comparing it with the Froch Groves that happened in Britain, like I remember at the time, you could kind of compare. It was very controversial, the first fight. And Froch didn't want to have the rematch. Same way, like we can argue whether Andre Ward did or he did, but he was certainly in no rush to make it. So now Carl Froch as well, he was similar to Andre Ward. He didn't really want to have this rematch. George Groves pushed the issue. Like some people were saying that he was like a bit of a crybaby, a bit of a bad loser, a bit like some people were saying about Kovalev. And Froch was, I mean, what Froch is like. He's quite an arrogant man. He thinks that he's above it, or he definitely thought he was above George Groves prior to that, and he definitely did after. But George Groves went to I think it was the WBA, petitioned it, and he kind of forced it. But there was a big push for it in Britain. Like, everybody wanted to see the rematch. Everybody thought that this needs to be settled. Nobody really cared about like the sort of winning, losing. Like, this is something that I remember talking to. I don't know if this is true, but I remember talking to some American bloke, and he was saying that in America, people are obsessed with winners and losers. So that is very important, like, to get that win. And if you get that win, then that's basically the most important thing. And that is what a lot of the fans possibly were focusing on. I don't know if this is true or not. To be honest, from my observation, it does make sense. But I'm not saying it's 100% fact. Obviously, it's probably true in some cases, not so true in others. But I do suspect that there is quite a big element of truth there, culturally, within America. Whereas in Britain, like, really, it's not that big a thing. There's got, I mean, if I think of the two most popular boxers, I was thinking about this earlier, the two most popular boxers really I can think of in Britain, Frank Bruno and Ricky Hatton. Now, both of them had losses, but people didn't really care that much. Obviously, they wanted them to win, but it wasn't like, right, now you've lost and this is the be-all and end-all of everything. People supported them because they liked them, because they liked their personalities, they liked the way that they gave it, what they gave. And, you know, again, with this Froch Groves, people just wanted to see this rematch, so that push from the fans. It could be that, like, obviously they had Eddie Hearn promoting it, who's a very good promoter, very, keeps his foot on the gas, he's very vocal. George Groves obviously played his part, and they kind of captured the moment, which I don't think they really did with this. Now, maybe that was just Andre Ward's fault that he didn't want to do that. Maybe it was just a missed opportunity from everyone, or maybe it was never really there, the opportunity to do that. Because look what happened with Froch Groves, that was an 80,000 at Wembley. Now, George Groves wasn't that big before then. I mean, he was big, he was quite popular, but he wasn't a world champion, he wasn't like really well known. Carl Froch had fought in Nottingham, he'd fought in a couple of big fights in America, but he wasn't like, this was a big thing for them to have like an 80,000 fans at Wembley. So it really captured the moment, and people really wanted to see this situation resolved, and that built that huge fight. I just haven't really got that impression from America, from the fans over there, and from the promoters, and from the fighters. I mean, obviously, Sergey Kovalev has been, saying his bits and pieces, but yeah, it hasn't really caught on. So yeah, in terms of the fight taking this long, I still think, I mean, I don't know, people can obviously tell me better than my suspicion, but I still think it's going to be big, but I don't think it's going to be as big as it could have been. I think they haven't really maximised the potential of this rematch. And I don't know if people are going to not have lost interest, but I don't know if it's continued with that momentum that it could have had to really build up to something big. Because although I think that Sergey Kovalev won, I still think it was a very competitive fight, and I still think a rematch is worth seeing. Even if Kovalev had won and you said, let's have a rematch, I'd say, yeah, I'd like to see that again. I'd like to see how this develops. Now, the reason why, I was going to say the Andre Ward, the way he's gone about this, I've got to be honest, I haven't been particularly impressed. He's talking about, we need to, he needs to understand now that, like, they're not in control, they need to agree to my terms and all this. Now, as I said in the first one, I don't know what went on behind the scenes, but as far as I understand it, there was a rematch clause. I mean, Andre Ward was given an opportunity to fight for 3 world titles to Sergey Kovalev. Went around the world, went to Canada, went to UK. I don't know, but really had to work to win all these titles. Andre Ward was given an opportunity to fight for 3 world titles, having done nothing really at light heavyweight. I explained the situation with the judges. In terms of the money, I don't really care about the money because that's promoters. Rock Nation paid Andre Ward what they wanted to pay him. Brilliant. That's good luck to him. I don't see that as that's up to them. They do what they want. If they want to pay Andre Ward $500 million, brilliant. Good luck to him. So that money thing is irrelevant because they're both paid by different people, as far as I'm aware. But the situation with the judges, and I don't really know what other kind of concessions Sergey Kovalev had to make to get Andre Ward in the ring in the first place. I just think if that was the original case, if that's not good enough, if you've signed this agreement and now you're thinking, well, I've basically had this fight, let's be generous to Andre Ward here and say at least half the people think I lost the fight. So now the original agreement that we had is no longer good enough. I want the better agreement and I want even more things in my favour. Then it's very difficult for me to respect that. Now I like Andre Ward. I've always liked Andre Ward. I just seen him fight, but the first time I really saw him interviewed and started to see him like what he was like is when he came over to the UK to promote the Carl Froch fight. And he just came across very well to me. He spoke very well, seemed like very nice to people, nice to everyone, not just nice to people that was like important. He was nice to everybody, like cleaners, photographers. Do you know what I mean? He just came across like a good bloke to me. And then I've seen him quite a few times. He came again to the UK recently. I can just see the way he interacts with people. He's top bloke. Love to have a pint with him, talk about boxing. But he does seem to be, when it comes to doing these agreements, he does seem to be slightly dishonest. He's basically had quite a few situations where he's been, in contracts that then he's changed his mind over. Now you can say it's not a fair contract, but you signed it in the first place, and you've gone to court like a few times, and they've all told you you're wrong. I'm not here saying that I know what was in the court. Maybe he was in the right, but it at least arouses suspicion. If three separate judges all ruled against him. Now he's got this deal in place. He's been given an opportunity. He was given a gift decision, in my opinion. And he wants to change the situation, change the deal that he's already agreed to make it even more in his favour. So even though I like Andre Ward and I do respect him, I've got to call him out on this kind of behaviour. Do you know what I mean? This is sport. You want to see fairness and you want to see people on an even playing field. So I don't really care if this is someone I like, this is someone I don't like, this is someone who's from my town, this is someone from the other side of the world. We're talking about sport. And I like to see an even playing field and I like to see people treat each other fairly. So, yeah, I'm not particularly impressed by this, Andre. At least that's how it looks. So I don't really not one of these people now who's like really brilliant, yeah, Andre Ward, well done, mate. Like you're basically doing what you should have done from the start. You're contractually obliged, and you're basically bound by honour, as far as I can see, to do what you've done. So I'm not going to give you like a pat on the back and give you extra credit for doing what I would expect any decent person to do. I'm disappointed really that he's gone about it in this way. But whatever. It's done now, so the fight's going to be made. In terms of how I think it's going to go, well, I'll give my breakdown on that a bit closer to the time. But my early thoughts are the second half of the fight, I think, was close. Now, I think both of them can do better in the second fight. I do think that Andre Ward, to me, doesn't look the same as he did when he was in the Super 6, when he was fighting Froch, Kessler. Now, I don't think those two are as good as Kovalev, but still, Andre Ward looked better. He looked quicker, sharper. Since he's been at light heavyweight, to me, it was a good performance against Kovalev, but he's not quite at the level that he used to be. I think he is dipping slightly. As for Sergey Kovalev, I don't know what his mentality is going to be like going into this. He's going to think that he can't get a decision on points, which I think is unfair. A lot of people are basically saying, Sergey Kovalev he's called the Crusher. He didn't crush anything. He's supposed to be like a knockout artist. So I mean, is there a new rule in boxing that if you have a reputation for being a big puncher, you're not allowed to win on points? I mean, do you know what I mean? He went in there and he won, in my opinion, won on points. So whether he's like a crusher or he's got a reputation, it's completely irrelevant. It doesn't mean anything. Do you know what I mean? He won on points. So using this argument that he didn't perform to how we'd expect, it's neither here nor there for me. So I don't know if he's going to then go into this fight over the top, really put too much effort in trying to knock Ward out. And I think that could work against him if he does that. I think he needs to be composed. I think he needs to realise that he did well in the first fight. And yeah, he needs to make a few changes if necessary here and there. But I don't think he really needs to go in there reckless and just throw the kitchen sink at Ward. I don't really think that that's what he should be doing. Possibly he will, I don't know. He's obviously very wound up. He feels a big sense of injustice. So yeah, that'll be interesting. As for Andre Ward, I don't agree. Like a lot of people are saying that he really figured Kovalev out by the end of the fight. I don't see that at all. I think it was a close fight. The second half of it, they were both. A lot of those rounds could have gone either way. He definitely did get back into it, but it's not like by the end of it, it was just Ward was just schooling him. He just lost a few rounds at the start. It wasn't like that. It was competitive towards the end. So you have to think that based on that, probably we're going to see a competitive fight again. I don't know. The fact that I think Kovalev won the first one, in my opinion, gives him the edge in this one. But I'm not sure about his mentality going into it. If he goes in there too gung-ho and just really trying to look for the knockout, I think Ward is too clever, too slick, and I think he'll make him pay for that. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's been a bit long, this video. I kind of been waffling on a little bit, but yeah, I'll make a video about it closer to the time. But yeah, I just wanted to say that stuff really. So thank you very much for watching.